head of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, His Beatitude Святослава.
Welcoming address of His Beatitude Святослав Шевчук, the head and father of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church, to the participants of the conference, the place of the Eastern Catholic Churches in the Communio Ecclesiarum, and their relations with the Roman Catholic Church in the perspective of dialogue with Orthodoxy. Dear ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to greet you all participants of the Congress organized by the Theological Faculty of the University of Vienna and the Institute of Ecumenical Studies of the Ukrainian Catholic University. I thank to the Dean, Professor Andrea Liner Hartmann, and her co-workers for your kind hospitality. I am also grateful to Father Professor Thomas Nemet, who is a priest of the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church and the chairholder of the Department of Theology and History of the Eastern Churches, for hosting this conference. I highly appreciate the fact that our Institute of Ecumenical Studies, which in this year is celebrating its 20th anniversary, has organized and continues to organize such important events. In fact, it was in 2019 that the Eastern Catholic Bishops of Europe organized in Rome the first of a series of such conferences under the title, The Ecumenical Mission of the Eastern Catholic Churches of Europe Today. And following its recommendations, the Institute of Ecumenical Studies of UKU, as part of the Ukrainian Christian Academic Society, seminars and sessions, has organized not only in Ukraine, but in various parts of Europe, particularly in Rome, such conferences. Suffice to mention the main topics of these events as Eastern Catholic Churches, Can They Speak with One Voice, happening in December 2022, and the Ecumenical Vision of Eastern Catholics in Dialogue with Orthodox, happening in Rome, November 2023, and now in Vienna. From what I can see from the program, you have convened a considerable number of specialists and professors from Canada, USA, India, Lebanon, Belgium, Serbia, Hungary, France, Rome, and naturally from Austria and Ukraine. God willing, I wish you to continue on this path. It is important, in my view, that you concentrate on 4 important events. First, the fact that the recent Annuario Pontificio 2024, one of the titles of the Bishop of Rome, which was omitted since the pontificate of the Pope Benedict XVI, as a Patriarch of the West, has been installed. Second, the recent important document published by the Pontifical Dicastery for the Promotion of Christian Unity, the Bishop of Rome, Primacy and Synodality in Ecumenical Dialogues and Responses to the Encyclicals Ut Unum Sint. The third, the Jubilee next year, 2025, commemorating the 1700th anniversary of the First Ecumenical Council of Nicaea, 325. While analyzing this council, I strongly suggest that you concentrate on the question of one celebration of Easter in the entire Christian world. Should the Orthodox and Catholic Christians start celebrating Easter on the same day, it would be an outstanding step towards achieving the communion and unity of the entire Church. And finally, the 4th point, the recent synodal document which the participants of the Papal Synod approved a few weeks ago. Wishing you all success during this conference, I can only once again repeat, may the Holy Spirit inspire your hearts and minds in presenting and researching these most important questions. His Beatitude Святослава. Thank you.
Now I would like to ask Father Yuri Polarse, the Protos Gallus for the Eastern Catholics in Austria, for his welcome word.
Reverend Fathers, dear participants of this International Congress, as Vicar General of the Ordinariate for the Eastern Catholics in Austria, I extend my most cordial greetings to each of you on behalf of our Ordinary, His Eminence Christoph Kardinal Schönborn. He thanks for the invitation and expresses his deep gratitude. I am honored to convey his warm regards and prayers for the success and fruitfulness of this international conference. It is for me a special pleasure to greet Professor Jaroslav, whom I encountered as a student of economics 28 years ago, through whom I was introduced to the life of the church, but also to theology. So it's a great surprise and a great pleasure. The role and the mission of the Eastern Catholic churches within the life of the Universal Church have long been of a profound significance to our Ordinary, to Cardinal Schönborn, who, as a responsible bishop for Eastern Catholics in Austria, remains deeply committed to supporting and fostering their unique contribution and their spiritual heritage within the broader ecclesial community. The mission, and the Cardinal has repeated it many times, a mission, so it's a very key word for us, has been anchored by the Cardinal in the mission statement of the Ordinariate for the Faithful of the Eastern Catholic Churches in Austria, resting upon three foundational pillars. First, responsibility to the faithful. As a church, we bear a direct responsibility to serve the Eastern Catholic faithful in Austria, providing them with essential pastoral and sacramental care. Second, mediators of truth. As Eastern Catholic churches, we are called to act as mediators of truth, born at the meeting point of two worlds, the Western Latin Christian world and the Eastern Orthodox and Asian Oriental Christian world. Our churches strive to convey the truth of the East to the West and the truth of the West to the East. Our aim is that through this exchange, both may ultimately come together in unity and love within one and the same truth, Christ Himself. Third, serve to the Universal Church. As Eastern Catholics, we are called to serve the Universal Church in its sacred mission for the unity of the Church. Now, to what extent does this mission statement represent an ambitious ideal that may be challenging to realize in practical terms, given the complex realities of interchurch relations? The unique position of the Eastern Catholic churches often places them in a distinct and sometimes misunderstood role. Rather than being recognized as mediators, we are frequently perceived as obstacles by our Latin Rite and Orthodox or Oriental brothers, who may view us through lenses shaped by historical, theological, and cultural differences. In all its complexity, we have resolved to pursue this mission, here in Austria at least, by fulfilling our calling as the Church of Christ. Our aim is to serve as a community where people can encounter the living Christ, fostering a genuine experience of faith and community. The discourse surrounding the Eastern Catholic churches is often confined to the framework of institutional terminology and ecclesial categorizations. We have decided to go beyond these protracted discussions and to focus instead on a profound experience of encounter with the living Christ. We thus seek to bear witness to this transformative encounter, embodying and reflecting its presence within our communities and beyond. In practice, when I personally engage with my Latin Rite brothers, I do not exhaust my energy attempting to prove my Catholic identity, nor when meeting with my Orthodox or Oriental brothers here in Austria, do I seek to convince them of my alignment with their liturgical and theological traditions. Rather, I and we all, also our priests and communities, aim to share our experience of encountering Christ, an encounter that unfolds through the Holy Scripture, writings of the Church of the Fathers of the Church, the rich liturgical heritage and traditions, and the sacraments, which we all experience within the Church in which we were baptized. I particularly in the Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. This encounter with living Christ profoundly transformed not only my own spiritual journey, but also the lives of my family, of my wife, of my children. So I share about the life of faith of my son with my brother priest from the Orthodox Church. And that inspires him. I share about my prayer life. I share how do I encounter Christ in my daily life. I share with my brothers about my struggles in my prayer life, and I ask them whether they can help me to grow. In this way, I am able to transcend prejudices and overcome potential rejections, initiating dialogue on a fundamentally different and more meaningful level, thereby moving closer to the fulfillment of our mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all the welcome words which show the broad concept of our conference, which is also part of a series of academic events, and to understand also our conference concept, we would now like to start the morning session with an introduction by Father Dr. Roman Pigas, who can tell you also about the history of this whole project, and then we will start with the presentation.
Good morning, glory to Jesus Christ, as we say in Ukraine. I'm Roman Pigas, and I'm the director of the Institute of Ecumenical Studies of the Ukrainian Catholic University, the institution which, together with the Faculty of the Catholic Theology at the University of Vienna, and particularly with the Department of Theology and History of the Eastern Churches, headed by Professor Thomas Nemeth, organizes this international conference in the venue of this Vienna University. We are grateful to the French Catholic Foundation L'Œuvre de Lyon and the Canadian Papal Agency CNEVA for supporting this initiative. As you know, this conference is part of the large, big 3-year event project, which was implemented by the Institute, and we call this project Eastern Catholic Church's Mission of Unity and Catholicity. We started this project in 2022. This project was implemented by our institute and in different countries and in partnership with many academic institutions. The aim of this project was to explore the identity and ecumenical mission of the Eastern Catholic Churches, and also to promote dialogue between different traditions in order to strengthen our contribution to the Catholic Church from the part of the Eastern Catholic Churches and the international ecumenical movement. Our churches should usefully join their intellectual resources and speak with one voice when it is possible. This project endeavored to bring together Eastern Catholic scholars from Europe, North America, and Middle East, Asia, and Africa. Within these 3 years, the Institute of Ecumenical Studies organized 2 big international conferences and a series of small seminars dedicated to the issue. The first conference was held in Lviv in December 2022, entitled Eastern Catholic Churches, Can They Speak with One Voice? We talked about the historical, liturgical, ecclesiological, and canonical aspects of life, work, and mission of the Eastern Catholic Churches. Many speakers emphasized that this one common voice that unites us, this is a testimony of the gospel and the Catholic universal faith, a testimony of the unity of the church. Also, the shared voice of ministry doesn't deny the diversity of voices that are a gift and enrichment for the entire universal church. The second conference, hosted by the Pontifical Oriental Institute in Rome in November 2023, was dedicated to the topic of the Eastern Catholics' ecumenical vision in dialogue with Orthodox. We analyzed a contribution of the Eastern Catholic Churches to the ecumenical movement, how they expanded the understanding of the Christian unity within the Catholic Church, and what special approach to dialogue with Orthodox could be developed by Eastern Catholics, given to the account their theological and cultural proximity to them. Today, we are happy to continue our work at the conference in Vienna. Our work will last for 2 days and will be divided into 2 blocks. The first one is ecclesiological and ecumenical, and the second one is canonical. The title of the conference, The Place of the Eastern Catholic Churches in the Communio Ecclesiarum and their relation with the Roman Catholic Church in the perspective of the dialogue with the Orthodoxy, explains our goal. The focus of this conference will be the ecclesiological identity of the Eastern Catholics, how they see their place both in the Catholic Church and in the context of the universal Christianity. This question is directly related to their ecumenical mission, especially in the dialogue with Eastern Christianity. Even after progress achieved as a Vatican Council, the Second Vatican Council, in understanding the identity and mission of the Eastern Catholic Churches, much remains to be done. One of the areas where such progress is conceivable are the church institutions that express churches sui juris and their communion. In this context, it is necessary to explore the link between the Catholicity, universality, and particularity. The Eastern Catholic Churches have been described in terms of particular churches, which in unity with the Church of Rome form the body of the Catholic Church. The question is, to what extent does the Latin Rite Church conceive of itself, and by both the Eastern Catholic Churches and the Orthodox, as one of the particular churches within the Catholic communion? rather than being synonymous with the Church Universal. Is the Latin Rite Church a sui juris church in need of institution or institutions that will be expressed as this being as sui juris church? Could this lead to a rethinking of the role of Pope as the head of the Catholic Church and the patriarch of the Latin Church? In this domain, the Eastern Catholic churches can make an important contribution to the better articulation of Catholicity, synodality, and respect for diversity within the Catholic Church. Therefore, wish us all a fruitful and interesting discussions. Thank you.
Thank you,